So after Golgotha, I went to the tomb of Jesus, where that was the main purpose of the day, to be able to see and experience the tomb. Upon going to the tomb, I've noticed people. It is not crowded, by the way. The Garden Tomb is not crowded because most of the tourists go to the Holy Sepulchre, the one that the Catholic Church believe where the tomb is. And by the way, even the Garden Tomb says this is where we believe the tomb is, but at the same time, they're saying the location of the tomb is not important. Like what's important is that he died and he has risen. That's the most important thing. So people are debating whether the real tomb is in the Garden Tomb or the Holy Sepulchre. But according to the Garden Tomb itself, they say they believe that that is tomb, but at the same time, it's not important to where the tomb is. What's important is Jesus Christ died and he has risen. But that Garden Tomb, even if you don't believe that that's the actual tomb, it's a good place to kind of like actually imagine the events that happened. Because if you look at the Bible description, it really fits the Bible description on where the tomb is. It's outside of the city. It was in a garden, according to the Bible. It's inside a garden. It's outside of the city walls, and it's near Golgotha. So all of the description in the Bible fits the actual physical components of the garden tomb. So upon going to the tomb on my way in the garden, I saw people, but not a lot of them, meditating by twos, by threes, by groups. There's even a chapel where people can have their communion service, with on grape juice and unleavened bread, what we normally do in church. People do that as well, and they're singing hymns, very familiar hymns, similar to what we sing in church here. So upon going to the tomb, I kind of waited for some people to be finished viewing the tomb so I can have the tomb all by myself. That's how not crowded this garden tomb is. So once in a while, people will go, yeah. But then if you just wait for a little bit, people will go and you can have the tomb all by yourself. So that's what I did. When they left, I just went to the tomb and it was just me. You can imagine the moment. It was just me. I went inside, took a picture outside. There's a bench by the tomb. I just sat there and meditated. Just look at the tomb and kind of imagine what happened, right? Based on the Bible stories. He was crucified and he was put in the tomb for 3 those you know the story. And once in a while, I spent a lot of time at a tomb. I didn't rush because during that day I didn't have any plans, just a tomb. So I just sat there. And once in a while I will join different tour groups, kind of like not really join, but kind of like listen to what the guide is saying. And there was even the guide explaining to one Protestant group about a tomb, and I kind of listened to her, and I was able to know the story behind why they think that that is the tomb. And even inside there's this inscription, something like that. So that added to the value of my stay. I was able to hear the guide speak. So I went back to the tomb again and just sat down and just looked at the tomb, contemplated, meditated. And it really hit me because if you think about it, because of this tomb, it signifies not just Jesus Christ's death for our sins that we are saved, but most importantly, he is risen. He is risen. There's even a text that is displayed there that says, I think that's in Mark, where it says, "Behold, the tomb is empty. Behold, look at the tomb, something like, behold, the tomb is empty. Behold, for he is risen," something like that. And that's really good news. And I was contemplating on this text that because of his resurrection, even if we die, we can also be resurrected. And he already is victorious towards death. That we'll have a second chance, and we're redeemed because of his death and his resurrection. So while I was contemplating on these things, just looking at the tomb, and by the way, when I was there, once again, the feeling is different. It's hard to explain. When you're in the Holy Land, there's a different vibe, a different feeling of of being more spiritual. I think it's because you focus more on these things, I guess. and you're surrounded with pilgrims, you're surrounded with Christians, Muslims, Jews, like focusing on religious things. I think these factors, I guess, but it's hard to explain why. But in general, there's a different feeling when you're in the Holy Land. So while I was sitting there, just once again meditating, I suddenly heard from afar a Protestant group singing a hymn by Bill Gaither, Because He Lives, very famous hymn. And while they were singing, when they reached the chorus, Because He Lives, their familiar song, just kind of like automatically tears flowed from my eyes. And normally I don't cry with these kinds of stories. I've heard it a lot. I don't become emotional. When I was there, especially when I heard a song, the hymn, tears just flowed from my eyes. And while listening to the song and looking at the tomb. So for me, that was a very special moment. And since then, it really changed me. It changed my outlook towards Christ fights for us in his resurrection because of this experience in being able to visit the tomb of Christ. So I really thank the Lord for this great opportunity in visiting the Holy Land, especially in giving me the chance to meditate and contemplate on his death and resurrection at that garden tomb.